Hello, I'm Richard Raffan. I've just completed this little pot, which is the 6th of the 4 ways projects, which was for an enclosed form. Now 4 ways is Mike Peace, Sam Angelo and Tomislav Tomašić, whose idea this was. We each post our versions and approach to the same project on the 1st of each month. And you'll find the links to the other people just down below. So what I have in mind is a piece which is going to be kind of enclosed like that, with an opening somewhere around there, maybe a bit narrower. We'll just see how we go. This is a piece of wet casuarina. I want it to distort after it's made, and I'll probably make another little one out of here, but at the moment I've got that cut out. I need to, or squared off. The main kind of features of this, I was hoping to get a better kind of idea of what's happening here, but the growth rings are pretty well there, not too far off where the pith was. But this should, the top should pop up when it's finished, and because the medullary rays, which you can just about see, which are there, and if I get a slope onto there, when the curve is somewhere near that, I should get this nice kind of shimmering pattern. So that's where I'm going with that, and a bit of distortion. So I'll just cut that up and I'll see you on the lathe. So the blank has a hole in it. I've got the middle size of the 3-in-1 chuck. I don't need all that screw, so a couple of little spacers should do it. Yep. Just lock the spindle and then cinch it up. And get shaping. That I could do with a slightly longer wrist. And as usual, I'll be starting off with a 1/2 inch spindle gouge to rough down. When I wind it up, I can hear the whole end of the building rattling, so it's got to go down there for the moment. So just beginning to shape the bottom first, and just get the eccentricity on. And as always, I will take away what I don't want and see what I've got left. This is not looking good. A lot of bark there. It's going to be a smaller pot than I was expecting. You can still see a hint of colour of the bark there. Yeah, not good. Right. So I'm beginning to see the pattern coming through of the grain, which is good. Start rounding over the top, the shape to start with. And I'm just going to go against the grain here because I can see the shape develop better. I can see the shape developing better that way. And Right, so there's a teeny bit of bark there which will be coming off a bit later. So I can get this now down to, I need a foot on the bottom so I can grab the whole thing in preparation for hollowing. Just kind of squeeze in. Corner. Little bit there. Now I'll get the bottom smoothed out, and then I'm going to come around and I'm going to change the top quite a bit. I think it's not really my kind of shape at the moment. That can come off and we'll get it into a chuck. And it should go into the 55mm chuck with the jaws open all right. So, let's just start to work around this shape a bit more. Unfortunately, the camera is where I normally am, so I want to change the top. So this is supposed to be kind of hollow form. It's got to come in a bit for a start. And that, I think, inevitably means a smaller diameter. Beginning to look a bit symmetrical. A little bit of return up near the rim. Right, that's fine for that little bit. Next thing really is to get the inside roughed out. I'll just do a little bit here, but I'll be back later to do a lot more on the outside. Rested just a little bit high for that tool. Yeah, that's going to have more of it, have more shape to it eventually. Right, so now come round and start to hollow. When it comes to hollowing, the first thing is to establish the depth to which you're going to go, which is going to be just short of that little mark. Short of there, and I'm going to start with the quarter-inch deep fluted gouge. That's a quarter-inch flute. Got a very long bevel. For reasons you're about to see. Ooh. I'm trying to keep out of your way, which doesn't make it any easier here. Right, I think I'm just going to have to start. So normally I'm right across. I'm going to have to start from over here. Rest comes up a bit, so only the top left corner is rubbing. And get in at that angle. the gouge. So that little square cut is just to get me into the wood in the first place. Now I need a shorter rest, and I just want to have I like to try and get the rest in a little bit, almost at right angles to the direction I'm cutting. For the moment I'm still going straight down. I need a magnet on top to show how deep I'm going. Realign my magnets, just got shifted by the shavings. Now coming across here, I can come in at quite a big angle with this tool, but not with the rest that low. And I'm going to shift the angle of the camera now so that you see what the tool handles are doing, rather than trying to peer inside, which you won't see anyway any more than I do. So getting in first with the square end scraper. I need to be able to lean right across the rest. Just trying to take out a bit too much at once there. I'm effectively using just the corner of the tool. I'll just get those shavings out. So this is my shavings remover. Now next is to try and do get a shear cut with the 1/4 inch gouge. Now this has got a very long bevel. I've had to move the dust extractor side out of the way of the dust hood so that I can line the bevel up with where I'm going, and I can get right across. In fact, I'm almost falling off the other end of the rest, which needs to be inside the form. Now the window's getting in the way. And it's cold. Right, that's got my initial cut done, and I'm down to about here. So next I can go in with the gouge again and just use the right wing, just sweep it across and hog out the waste. And the big problem with gouges is that use my new weapon. Big problem with using gouges in here that you have nice big shavings, and of course they're difficult to get out. comprises of some sort, and somewhere I have this one. As I do this, I realise why I never made these as a production line. It's just too tedious getting the shavings out and stopping and starting all the time. So I'm beginning to get, I need to get into the fullness of the curve there, and I do that with a Kelton Undercutter, which is a flat tool shape as you can see. And because of the swan neck here, I've got to set the rest back, because if I have it here and the pressure's out there, the whole thing's going to grab. And then I can watch the cut down at about 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. Just to get me round the corner. So this little tool, which is actually more effective than the hooks, the idea is it's a twisted coat hanger, wire coat hanger, and the idea is there's a kind of spiral which ejects the shavings. Works reasonably well. Need more out down there. For that I just use a thinner round nose scraper. And it's really the diameter of the width of the opening which limits the kind of the width of the tool. So I can get a narrower tool like this in at a greater angle than I can this heavier 1-inch one. You can only get in, this will only cut to there, this one will cut more round to there. Well, looks like most of that's done. Right, I've got a big ridge around there, and I can probably feel my way with this, with the McNaughton. Just do a little kind of trial run. See where it is. Yeah. And then it's a question of going through the lumps and across the bit. I'm not going to be piercing this to show how thin and even my wall is. So I could probably even cope with the odd little ridge. It's got to come back a bit on the widest bits of the tool. Right, so I want it kind of reasonably smooth. That's a little lump around there, which I'll be able to feel with this. So first cut is tentative, just to kind of feel where the surface is. And then just kind of move smoothly around the circle. Still needs a bit up in there. Now sound begins to come into play as well. Get some calipers onto that. So it's around 5 millimeters, not down here there. Oh, can't be that little. So just over 1/8 of an inch. So I can thin down the wall a little bit, but I wasn't going to do it from inside. I'm going to do it from outside because I want a bit more shape here. So that just needs to be rounded off across the bottom, and for that I get in with a bowl scraper if it will fit in the gap. So across the bottom I'll be using this. Have to feel it because there are too many shavings blocking the way, blocking your vision. Right, now I might be able to have a little look. I can get across the bottom with probably with this one. There's a little lump just in there I can see. I really don't like doing that because I haven't got enough weight over the handle. It's just that little kind of snatch. I really like to get in with the curve here. Yep, that will do it. I don't think I get the camera vision in there as well. Oops, that gives me a little lump in the middle. Little mesa that's come out. And there's a slight kind of shelf just there. I hope I can get rid of with that. So I'll feel it first. Nope, that won't reach. I'd rather not do it with the swan neck. Yeah, I think I can do that. Still not quite as even as I would like in there. Doesn't look too bad, but just doesn't feel very good. And you can get your fingers in there, so you will be able to feel it. nasty little snatch when suddenly the wood grabs more of the point than you're expecting, more of the edge. Right, all that has left me with a slight ridge in the middle again, just about on the edge where the edge of the foot is, and I'll get out with this. Right, that's that. Now to finish the outside, and I'm going to stick some beads on this. So I will change the camera angle again. So before I do any more, I'm just going to trim up the rim and then sand the inside. The inside's not going to get too much, but I'm going to use the deep fluid tool because it's got a rounder nose. And just less likely to grab. So this is 120 grit. So that will just give me a smoothish surface. I'm inclined to paint these inside just so they're a kind of dark hole. Right, so I'm now going to shape this up, finish the outside and get it a bit thinner. First tool which comes to hand is actually the spindle gouge, but it's got a fairly deep, steep right wing so that I can get in there fairly easily. And around the corner here, I'll shear scrape this. I need also to smooth up the back of that. So do this shear scraper. I've got it over here again. That little click was this edge interacting with the chuck. So main thing is to check damage on the chuck, which might damage me later. That seems to be alright. It's good. So we're now beginning to get the pattern there coming through. And put some grooves in there. I'm beginning to wonder if I will. Looks quite nice as is, but no, so that my little pots tend to have grooves on. So I'm going to do this with a spindle detail gouge, which has a shallower flute than the conventional. So this is the deeper flute, the standard 1/2 inch spindle, 3/8 spindle gouge. This is the 3/8 detail gouge. So the purpose of these is that when the bowl warps, it'll just accentuate the warping a bit. Let's bring them round a bit further. could have been cut a little bit better, that one. Ah, no, that is a disaster because I've had a catch. And I'll just try and get rid of that. Right, it makes this one out here a bit big, so we change the shape of that. Kind of shear scrape there just to reduce that diameter a little bit. See what the damage is. Right, so there's actually a little ridge which I can barely see. It's one of those things that probably shows up on camera really quite dramatically. Missed it. Got it that time. Right. Back in there. Beginning to wish I hadn't started these. A little wisp flying around in there. Must be said, I'm having an eyesight problem here. Right, so really rather stuffed that, so that will all come off. Just shear scrape around the top there. Okay, that's changed shape quite dramatically. What I'm now going to do is try and get I want some decoration up here. Down the deep fluted gouge, because it's got a much more pronounced right wing than the little spindle gouges. Now the spindle gouge. Right onto its side at the end and then just drop the handle slightly. Right, let's round this off, and that's all that's going to get. Well, it's become a different animal. So now to sand it. Well, this is green timber, but it's beginning to dry out quite a bit. so it's not the arduous sanding that it was a couple of weeks ago. Really isn't too bad as a form. It's not ultra thin, but it's not too thick either. And I should get the calipers on so you can see it. About 1/8 of an inch, I suppose. Thicker there. Thin. So there will be a lot more of that, and I'll just carry on and leave you out of it. The sanding is down to 240 grit, which is what I usually sand to. Next thing really is to see how much I have depth, or how much wood there is in the bottom. I've got to remember I'm measuring at a slight angle, so it's going to be a little bit different. But I've got about 1/4 of an inch, so I'm going to round the bottom off, after which the whole thing's going to go in the microwave. So this is going to be a chuck. Now I don't want to expand the jaws inside what is a pretty thin rim up around here. Had I really thought about it and had the chuck, I could have gripped that in a chuck. If it was the right size for the chuck, that would be the easiest way to go. Very simple to turn the bottom off then. You see how that's running true enough. Right, so that is now going into this. There's going to be quite a lot of stuff flapping around, which is something which can't be helped, or can it? Yep, seems to work. Again, if I'd thought ahead a bit more, I would have marked centre. Right, 3/8 spindle gouge, my go-to weapon in this situation. Looks a bit out of whack, but it'll all smooth in together all right. Scrape that. So what's happening out here, there will be a little bit of kind of eccentricity, but hard sanding will take care of that. Yeah, you'd never know it's out of true. The last little bit is done off the lathe. 240 grit. And off to the microwave oven with it. I'm actually looking at it and wondering if I won't just sand or take some of that off, but I think we'll just leave it as it is. This has now had 2 lots of 90 seconds and 3 lots of 1 minute in the microwave, and you can see the top is distorted very slightly. It's now nearly 1/4 of an inch longer than it is wide, and in the bottom you can see a little split which I've filled with a mixture of African blackwood and epoxy. And what I'm now considering is whether I'm going to ebonise it rather than just oil it, and I think that's the way I'm going to go. So to ebonise this bowl, I've got my ebonising mix, which is a mix of ferrous metals, basically in this case bandsaw blades and a few old nuts and bolts, nails and things, and it's been fermenting away for some months, this lot, but you can get it up and running in about a week or so. So I'm going to pour some of the mixture into the bowl, and then I can swirl that around. And I'll do this with a glove because it gets pretty kind of mucky, or stains your hands. It comes out. So it's rather like a potter dealing with glazes. And then I've got a brush which I'll just get at the other bits with. Doesn't seem to have got it all. That's good. And then round the outside. And so basically I'll keep on painting that until it looks black on the outside, and just let that react a little bit too. Right, so let that dry off. Oh, there's a little bit more to come out of the inside. Right, and that's that for the moment. It's about an hour later, after the mix has dried, and it will come off a bit. But what I'm going to do is just oil it, let that mix in. So this is a bowl I made the other day, which can act as an oil bowl for the moment and get oiled at the same time. Whack that on. Put it inside. If I can't reach everything inside, I can put that on a little stick. My fingers can just about reach in there. Yep, that's got all that. Then this gets wiped off. main problem is getting the oil out of the any little ridges you might have. The inside will dry off, and that's basically it. Now if you want to buff it up a bit, you can do that on a buffing wheel, and just have a little go at that. I need to get more of the inside out first, just get that dry. Yep, pretty good. And so I have here a little buffing wheel, which I'll load up with wax. It's got some on already. Get a bit more on. I hardly ever use a buffing wheel, so I shall be back in a few minutes' time having dealt with this. So having got a layer of wax on, I'm going to use the kind of fluffy ball now to polish it off. That looks pretty good.